It's not very often I get to geek out about something I love with strangers. Well, it's not often I get to do so with my friends much either anymore, let alone a stranger. How rare is the opportunity to connect with someone you don't know around something you both not only love, but have shared understanding of historical context or nuance, influence. I've shared these rare moments over my love of screen-printed band posters, over the band Buffalo Tom, over growing up in Rosetown, Saskatchewan, over the level of snobbery needed to be a logo designer with taste. I don't know if I'm always presenting myself as a very open human to strangers, to people on the plane or in a lineup. I'd like to think I do, but then I am pretty sure of when I intentionally don't. So maybe I miss more of these rare human experiences than I should. I should really work on that. Terra Lightfoot is an artist originally from Hamilton, now the quieter country of Halliburton, Ontario. But sometimes an artist gets some distinction, like when they are really good at guitar or something on their own right. And it clearly becomes a signature in their sound. And guitar players like to geek out about guitars. Not all guitar players, but a lot of guitar players. There's a little dance at first, to see what level the geek is or if there's any overlap. And then it's a full-on rabbit hole of brands and years and amps and tone to styles and influences and decades and eras. For maybe the first time on this podcast, I started to go down a rabbit hole with Terra. I wanted to, I felt it, but we were strangers, really, but inside the shared experience of the music industry. And we could find some shared passion for an instrument as well. But then in reflection, I realized there were actually multiple rabbit holes I could have gone down with Terra. What kindness as a practice in life, regardless of status, really looks like. How to get off the hamster wheel of chasing pictures of success that don't actually make you happy. It was a podcast episode that could easily have been a flight between Toronto and Edmonton, sitting and chatting in our seats in order to get it all in. These are good moments, human moments. Terra Lightfoot is a good human. And while it seemed her guitar playing led her way into her successful career, however defined, as an artist, I can't help but feel being an incredible human might have done more of the leading. My name is Glen Erickson. This is Almost Famous Enough. Thanks for spending your time with us. This is Terra Lightfoot. I appreciate you taking the time, Terra.
No problem.
We've never met before. I have seen you play here in Edmonton. My good friend Steve Durpack often promotes your shows when they come through and has always been a champion of you. So I remember watching a show at his invite it's a number of years back. This is pre-COVID probably for sure. So it feels
Steve's
forever.
Awesome.
Steve is fantastic. He's a great guy, but I'm really excited about this. When I was talking to publicist Ken about all of this, I jumped at the opportunity. So I appreciate you having an hour or so out of your day for this. So you obviously this usually surrounds promoting a new album and a new record, which I want to be able to talk about with you, especially because it's a bit of a shift where it seemed like the trajectory had been going, a bit of a change in just style, theme, all of those things. But what I often like to do is sort of like trace a little bit of timeline to get to how you got to where you are now, and just sort of the thing that's always not as fun for you as an artist, which is have to say the same stories over and over because you assume you might be talking to a new audience. So you have to say some of this stuff. So I totally get it. But why don't you start by just giving us a little Canadian geography lesson for a second, though, about where Halliburton is in the Ontario tundra?
Well, it is the tundra. Can you see the snow?
I do see some snow back there. Yeah.
There's a lot. So Halliburton is sort of, if you were going to Huntsville in Ontario, you would get off the highway and drive for an hour into the forest. That's Halliburton. Or if you're in Peterborough, you would drive 2 hours into the forest, and that's Halliburton. Or if you're in
Just
Toronto, you drive 2.5. Yeah, whatever you want.
Just keep going north-ish into the tundra is the way it works, or a little off, because like I feel like nobody does the drive anymore. Like the Sioux Sudbury drive, like everybody just goes through the States to get to Toronto now, coming from the West, because I'm a Westerner, right?
Yes.
But it's more accessible in a sense, like that curved highway, right? That kind of goes over and around.
Yeah.
Is kind of like the quicker jump off if that was part of your regular circuit. Is that correct?
Well, here is the deal with, of course, we don't like to go through the States all the time, but we have when we go to Wisconsin, and that is extremely beneficial because it's such a chill drive.
Yeah.
So relaxing.
Yeah.
But to get to my house, like honestly, we're not that far from Toronto, although we do get a blanket of snow where Toronto does not, which I love because you just feel like you're in a different place. You know, I'm completely removed from where I used to live in Hamilton. Like it's a different growing zone for vegetables. That's one of my main markers of success is a vegetable growing zone. I'm joking, but yeah. So it's a different landscape up here, although it is not super far north. Like my grandparents, I grew up visiting them in North Bay, which is like 4 hours from Toronto or 5.
Yeah,
and that's a bit of a hoof. But where I live is like the perfect medium.
But this is the great Canadian thing, right? So you've obviously been all over the country an awful lot in your career as a musician. So I think one of the interesting things about the landscape is like I grew up in Saskatchewan for a long time, which is really only inhabited in the bottom third and the top half, considering how flat and everyone knows and thinks of Saskatchewan. Then you go to Prince Albert and north and it's just forest and the Churchill River running through it, and it's like a whole different world. And I feel like that's just so Canada, and Ontario obviously has a couple of like such distinct landscapes to it. So that's a pretty cool little move to get out of the city, but not be too far from the city. That also feels very Canadian. Maybe also, well, that's not just well, you said Wisconsin. It feels very Bon Iver too. So,
oh yeah, is he from there?
To make that kind of move, he is a Wisconsin guy, and then of course, his breakthrough record was out in the woods in a cabin that an uncle or grandpa owned or something. I'm losing the story, but something like that.
Yeah,
there's some relativity, I guess, is all I'm saying. But is this a veteran musician move to like get to a point in your career? Do you think and then you sort of don't feel like you have to be so deep in the heart of the industry that you actually feel comfortable enough to get away from it and move somewhere?
Well, as a Hamiltonian, a proud Hamiltonian, I will say that I spent the first part of my career, like I moved to Hamilton when I went to university from not too far down the road, like 15 minutes down the road from the town I grew up in. And, like being in Hamilton and spending all my time in my 20s, making my way in the music industry just within that city was a thing, far removed from Toronto. And then when I started touring, everybody in Toronto was like, oh, well, you kind of have to be here when things are happening. That was the message.
Yeah.
And I moved there for 6 months. I started playing basketball. I was already playing basketball weekly with these guys that I knew, but for Much Music, it was a whole thing. Anyway, I go to the game in Toronto. There's a lot better and bigger guys playing basketball in Toronto there, and I immediately sprain my ankle. I end up with my leg up in Toronto in this terrible basement apartment for 6 weeks, and that is where I write the record that brings me on tour to the rest of the world, that got me like signed to Peck In, that got me all these wonderful things.
Wow.
And then I immediately moved back to Hamilton because it was such a terrible like personal experience. But so for me, I've never ascribed to a need to be present in any one place, like living there to be part of the scene. Like, because I think that some of the best people in Canada are not living in Toronto that are making music, Winnipeg is like a hotbed, for example.
Yeah, I just interviewed Begonia and Alexa. So and Boy Gold and Liam earlier on the season too. They've always just been a hotbed. But I love that you actually said that, Tara, because that's become a trope in Western Canada, like that rhetoric out of Toronto and the industry itself. So to hear that it's like also just down the road in Hamilton, which in the scope of Canada feels like it's literally next door, like bedroom community, what it's actually not. But Western Canadians would think it's pretty lot closer than it actually is.
Yeah.
Which is something I want to get to talking to you about. But let's go back a little bit further, okay? Because I have an interest. I don't always ask people how they started and like right back to the beginning, because then you always hear the I started singing when I was 4 years old story, which isn't everybody's favorite. But because you have a reputation as a musician, not just a singer performer, like your guitar playing is like part of the identity so strongly, I end up having a great curiosity about how that started. Obviously, I've read some things online about you already, and having a great aunt who was a guitar player in a band and giving you your first lesson. So as a guitar player myself, I'm curious about that evolution, about how, was that always a curiosity, or was it just sort of like your aunt is going to give you a lesson now and you're like, oh, okay. And then it turned a light on. How did the guitar become sort of a thing for you?
Well, I was revolting from my classical piano lessons. So I started, this is the classic story. My grandmother, who you can see in that picture, in that photo, she's playing on a Via train. That was her job in the 60s.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. So she was the entertainer. So cool. Also had 7 kids. Powerful woman. But so I was like destined to play the piano. That was supposed to be my thing. And by the time I'm 12, I've been doing piano every week for 7 years. And I feel so bad for my parents, because they'd basically have to force me to go to the lesson, get in the door, sit with the teacher, play, like the whole thing. Like it was all, I like a golden retriever puppy, did not want to go. And so then my mom got me a guitar at a garage sale, and I was like, oh, this is a thing I can do? Let's do that. And then I got into punk rock. Through high school, I had friends that wanted to hang out after school and play guitar. And I spent every afternoon, all night, like falling asleep with my guitar. Like, and that is when I really woodshedded between the ages of 12 and 16, 17, I guess. That was all I would do, every single day.
And who were you listening to? Who are you emulating? Who are you like, this is what I need to sound like?
So in the days of HMV, I was so excited because I could go and pick different things. So there's a band that I don't ever know what happened to them, called Zucker Baby, that I picked up. Yeah. I don't know where they were from. That band. Know nothing about them.
They had cool record covers, though. I can still see it in my head.
Yeah. Like Semisonic. That's a classic. That was a good one. I was listening to NoFX, as one does. But then I also was able to go, because I was in the jazz band at school. So I was listening to Billie Holiday. I was listening to Chet Baker. This kind of varied musical approach. And then I was also doing the classical thing, still with the piano and my grandmother. So I had this really kind of wild, all over approach.
Yeah.
But the guitar became my like wild sort of outlet. And I think that's why it became my instrument of choice. And yeah,
the rebellion thing's funny. I mean, I carried this, like, it's not a resentment, but my 2 sisters were forced through all the piano lessons, and I watched the incredible power struggle and the World War going on in my house over them for years. And then I was the youngest, 3rd child, and a boy. And so my mom was like, do you want to take piano? Well, of course. I said, no, thank you. And so she didn't make me, which then became a regret later to have that foundational theory, right? Whether I played piano or not. I'm sure for you, the crossover of theory and all the things that you were probably able to apply quicker kind of give you a bit of a head start, I'm presuming, in that way. Although you weren't applying that at all, if you were emulating NoFX riffs and just probably a lot of downstrum and and such. And was it like straight into electric guitar pretty early? Like, were you having to like figure out tone and pedals and things, all that stuff that kind of immediately your world opens up to when you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I was so lucky. I don't know if there's a guitar store in Waterdown now where I grew up, but when I was a kid, that's where you could go. You could get pedals. I bought like a 60s K bass and rode it home on my bike with my friend with no case, like just like one-handed bike riding. Like that's the kind of stuff I was doing at like 12 and 13. But there was also lessons there. So that's where I learned power chords. That's also, the teacher there was a drummer, Pete, this great guy. I know him like personally now, we're buds, but he was teaching me some punk stuff, and that was exciting too. But I think like, you know, my first lesson there, I remember the guy saying, because I had no sort of root with guitar playing. I had nobody teaching me anything. So my first lesson, I'm kind of plucking away, but not really that well. And he says, why don't we just stick to rhythm? You don't work on the fingering stuff yet. And so I carried that thought with me into my early 20s, and I never attempted any guitar solos. And that is, you know, it was definitely a regret. And I realized the error of that as I progressed in my musicianship.
Yeah.
And now, of course, I really value that kind of guitar playing, like being able to do a solo or improvise, or but those were things that I didn't focus on at first. And so I think I had a different bass than a lot of guitar players who start with the mille, mille, mille.
Yeah, I mean, that's so interesting, Tara. Like, I had the exact same upbringing. I've never talked to somebody who spelled their story out the exact same way I would. Oh. So I'm finding that really interesting, because I took it through high school, and this was the late 80s, early 90s. So I had nothing but headbangers with GNR shirts and Quiet Riot shirts and the black with the white half sleeves. And we only had classical guitars to play on in the school, and they had all carved like Slayer logos into them with their pens and stuff.
That's terrible. I love it.
And I know, it's amazing. And I was like, I was kind of closeted, because I was still into the heavy stuff. I love playing the riffs or whatnot, but I was like secretly getting into like U2 and the Unforgettable Fire and like that sort of influence of chording and stuff. But I never soloed either, like, because all those guys were just trying to rip solos on the nylon strings. And I didn't know what I was doing. It's amazing. It was like, the pictures in my mind still are hilarious. Like, and it was an oversimplified teacher who didn't know a thing about guitar, but they were offering it in the school. So we would mock the whole process by like playing, like what's the big the big Kansas song, Carry On My Wayward Son, I think, or something. So we were playing the thing, and I was doing a little like notating or whatever, but we were standing on one foot on a chair while we were doing it, just to make a point that this was over easy of what we were being given to do. But anyhow, that whole formation process for me, like, I didn't learn the soloing either, and I regretted it, because I got into bands later, and then I didn't come out as a front man ever, and I really wanted to, and it was a lot more effort. So I never heard somebody else express it similarly. Were you getting into bands and all that kind of thing in that process, in that normal way, or was that hard for where you were and located? Was there a lot of access to it?
There were a lot of bands. I had my band in grade 9 was called the Imperial Order Daughters of the Empire, which is a name that we picked from the dictionary.
Wow.
But, you know, I was in a band with some guys as well. I remember I missed practice once because I went out with my boyfriend after basketball practice or something, and they fired me. They were like, you're cooked. You didn't come to practice. That's it. And I remember thinking, like, my world is ending. It was so horrifying. But yeah, there was always a band to be a part of. I took a little bit of a break between 18 and 21. I mean, I was in university, so I was studying, but then I kind of started writing songs seriously at 21, and playing more in Hamilton. And it wasn't too long before I was making my first record.
And was that McMaster?
Yeah.
Before I make an assumption, I'm trying to think, is that the only Hamilton institution? Maybe it is.
I think so.
It'd be
think we
pretty
have
hard to exist alongside McMaster, probably,
Yeah, I
in
don't
a
think.
city the size of
Oh, there's
Hamilton.
Mohawk College. Sorry,
Okay.
that's the jazz. That's actually the jazz school, which I did not
Oh,
go
there
to.
you go.
Yeah,
Exactly.
no
You would have been
jazz.
playing your guitar much higher up if you had. But
So much.
okay, so you moved into the more pursuit of songwriting and the whole thing kind of after that little gap of studying and stuff, which is sort of blending into what you talked about, your incident in Toronto, and then writing a record. And it's kind of that whole first record. So here's one of my big curiosities for you, which is like that very first record was put out on Sonic Onion, right? So
Yeah.
how did you make that connection? Because like back then, we kind of only had a handful of like reputable indie labels in the country that you would try to get attention or stuff. So how did that connection get made that the very first thing you make ends up on a label?
Yeah. I mean, if we really zoom out, I worked at Long and McQuaid in Burlington, and I made friends with a lot of like pals, of course, but people that came into the store as customers. And one of them was Pete Hall from a Northern Chorus, which is a Hamilton band.
Yeah. I remember that group.
Yeah. And so Pete needed somebody to move into his house. He had a 4-bedroom house and he needed an extra roommate. And so I ended up moving in and we became buds. And he was like, I think we were jamming. He was playing drums on the songs I was writing. And then he kind of made all the connections for me. He was like, we should go to the gas station in Toronto and make a record with Dale Morningstar. So we did that. And then he was like, we should call Sonic Onion. And I would not do it because I was so deeply afraid of rejection. And eventually the guys in the band said, if you don't send this record to Sonic Onion, then we will send it for you under another name. So it's your choice. And so then I did it.
Yeah, that's a power play.
It was a major power play. They were great. They're all my great friends still. And Adam Melnick, Kim Malcolm, Dave Dunham played with us for a bit from Chore. Yeah, wonderful musicians. And so that was the connection. And then a couple of years, I think it was 2 years after that, then we started the next record with Gus Van Gogh. Yeah.
Yeah. So from the outside perspective, Tara, that seems like a big leap also. So number one, there's a leap of, I mean, just because there's people with the same story that you have in every town and city across Canada, right? Who are like aspiring musician, like sort of different paths, but a lot of, I think, commonalities where you build at least the momentum off the validation, maybe of your family or your peers or some small nucleus group that at least makes you keep going. And then at some point you sort of branch out. And sometimes I just always have this curiosity of how did the branch out happen? Because it always ends up looking like a big leap for people in their story, in their timeline, to go from the nucleus to all of a sudden I'm in there. And you gave me a hint of it there when you just said, well, zoom out, I worked at Long and McQuaid. So I'm making a guess early as we talk about your timeline that there's a lot of really good natural friendship, community networking, just skill in your personality and character that has probably built a group around you that has like continued to open your opportunities. But I mean, tell me if I'm wrong or not, but I'm going to make a guess because you just, when I read your stuff, you have so many collaborations, you've played with so many people. It just, that stuff doesn't just happen because some guy in an office said you should do this with so-and-so. You build, like, this is the world we live in, right? The industry we live in. You make those connections yourself.
Well, I will say one thing that really affected me at the very beginning of my touring career in Hamilton. I was playing in a country band called the Dinner Bells, and we were playing Dan Lanois' festival in Waterdown at Christie Conservation. What was it called? The Greenbelt Harvest Picnic, I think. And Lanois told me, he was like, you know, you meet the same people you do going up the mountain as you do coming down the other side. And so that sort of changed my entire approach to how I should treat people if I want to have a career. Because I need to be kind to everyone. in that case, right? I don't
Yeah.
want to meet somebody and sever a connection because I was not feeling like being nice. You know what I mean? There's so many opportunities like that throughout our day. You can choose either be kind to somebody, kind to the
Yeah.
cashier at the grocery store, or not.
Yeah.
And I know we don't always have the power to bring out our best selves, but I did try my best in that regard.
And I mean, that coming from a guy like Lanois, it's got to land pretty hard, obviously, too. Like, oh my God, right?
I took his words as the Bible, you know? I was like,
well,
oh my God, whatever he says.
Yeah, anything that guy says, I would have followed too. Speaking of unforgettable fire and such, I mean, that also aligns with what I think is usually the number one rule of being a musician, which is don't be a dick. So it seems to line up
wonderful
pretty
rule.
quick. So help me with the jump from first record to second record, and all of a sudden you're working with Gus Van Gogh and kind of putting out a real deal record, for lack of a better term, at least the way indies would feel about it, right? Rather than, I mean, you've obviously been playing for a while and playing shows, and you've got a few years of building some things up and working towards that before a record like that comes out. But that's still pretty quick in an early trajectory for people in this country, I find. How did that sort of come together? Was that just more connections, or just things kept opening for you?
Yeah, I mean, there were more connections. So Sonic Onion had history with Frank Black. So when Frank Black came to Hamilton, I ended up opening for Paley and Francis for my first record release. So that's a big moment. And I got to hang out with Charles, and like, again, we had like the most amazing chat and time together in Hamilton that night. I'll never forget it. It was a wild, it was a wild one. It was so fun. But I learned a lot from him as well, as somebody that I deeply respected, his career and his personhood and all that stuff. But so first record comes out, I'm completely disorganized as a human, just starting my foray into the music world. I was still walking dogs. I was still teaching music, right? And I guess basically what happened is Monster Truck and White Horse and a couple other people connected me with Gus Van Gogh, and they said, you should work with her. And eventually we met for lunch. And at that point, my label went with me, and they were like, okay, it's going to happen. You have to go away for 4 weeks. And I was like, well, I can't walk dogs or teach music. And they were like, you have to take a month off. And so I had to like make that incredible. That was the call. That was the leap. I was like, okay, so I'm going to have no income for an entire month. I'm going to go make a record, and I'm going to pay the band and do all these things. It was an exorbitant task. Yeah. And that was the moment. And then I never ended up going back to those jobs after that.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, that's definitely, well, I mean, that's definitely the moment. And I mean, that's the moment I think the aspiring musician is scared of, doesn't know when it's coming. A lot of people aren't prepared for, can't make that choice, don't make that choice, right?
Yeah.
Like they try some other option that feels safer than, financial destitution and risk over, one thing or one event. So I love how that's a common thread. Like, and that's part of why I'm doing this podcast here. I'm trying to draw threads through people's stories that I think are really interesting. And I think that's one of them, is that there's these moments where it's like, I have to sink or swim, jump the cliff, do whatever this moment comes where you make that choice, and it's pretty foundational. So that's like 2015? Is it 2015?
Yeah.
That record about?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then your story looks like a very, that fits more into the common Canadian trajectory, I think, where you're obviously become a bit of a road warrior and start playing shows all over, which, in Canada alone, before you even start leaving it, you have to drive so far to get to another club. Yes. But at least at that time, at the 2015, some of those classics were starting to close. So it probably was a little bit harder by that point to kind of just be able to hit those classic venues and all the main stops across the country, right?
Honestly, that first that first year of putting out Every Time My Mind Runs Wild, there was nothing scheduled and I had no agent as of the first day of release for that record. Not one thing. It was like no festivals because I had no agent, so nobody to book the gigs.
Yeah.
And we had talked to Pecan and it just didn't, they came to a showcase and they were like, you're really great, but like, we're not interested in signing a new artist right now. And I was like, okay. Sad.
Which can we just say we know is not true? Like, that's just the line, right?
Well,
they're always signing a new artist if they feel
might
motivated.
It wasn't me on that particular day, let's say.
And that's not shade on Pecan because that's just a business. I get it. Like, they're great people.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, then they're looking for some, a specific thing in a specific moment. But so I'm going into this record. Nothing's happening. I go out in Hamilton. I party hard with my buddies. And I wake up on one morning and I look at my phone and it's a message for my manager. And they're like, hey, you're playing at the Horseshoe with Lamwa tonight. And I'm like, oh, what? Because I think somebody dropped off his CMW show or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I get my stuff together, figure it out, get down there. And it's like one of the turning points. That's the TSN turning point where Pecan comes to that show and they're like, we're in 100%. We love this. What can we do? Let's book you your first festival. And then in the fall, I go out, I get a tour with my friends and longtime supporters, Whitehorse. They bring me out. And at the end of the Whitehorse tour, I get a note, you're opening the Blue Rodeo tour next year.
Jeez.
And so it was just like, bam, bam, bam. One thing after another. And then it was just done. It was like that 9 months that was such a turning point, really. And then it was just like, you have a career now. You're fine. Go ahead. Enjoy your life.
Yeah.
Go tour.
Those are some big dominoes to fall in a row like that for you, for anybody. Okay. That's like, that kind of puts you right in the middle of like taking off to where you're at. So
yeah.
Before I get to just like making some new records and what you've learned from a couple of those things, because there's a couple of cool moments that I've read about you that I want to ask about. But here's the thing I want to ask you particularly about, Terra, because by that point, you've established obviously who you are to like, you have the full team now, you know what I mean? Sort of assembled. You don't have to go back to any version of a walking dog or I
loved walking dogs, though.
I'm not saying you didn't love it. I'm saying the what do I have to do to keep paying the bills because music doesn't pay the bills for me yet. Yes. And you have two things, and I love to hear how people have overcome things. There's two things that, from my assumption only from the outside, would be big things to overcome and that you've probably had to deal with your whole life and talk to in every press interview, CBC, brand new podcaster, all of them. Number one, your namesake, you've probably had to deal with all the time. And number two, being a quote unquote female guitar player, like two things that aren't terribly fair and probably have been points of conversation all the way through. And so I have a curiosity, not just about, I guess in the middle, I'm curious how some of these things are affecting you or whether they're not affecting you at all or whether they bother you, because I'm so curious about how they've probably hung with you. Like I read an article last night from, I can't remember how many years, I forgot when I read it, on Americana UK. They literally asked you about being a female guitar player and you handled it a little tongue-in-cheek but with grace, obviously, in your answer. Or at least how they wrote it. Who knows how they, I don't know how they edit those things. It's a bigger online press, but so like first of all, the thing about the namesake to Lightfoot, I mean, that's the equivalent of having the last name Cash and playing Americana in the States, right?
Yeah, totally.
I guess my point of interest question, because I can make all kinds of assumptions about what it's been like just to get asked that over and over and over again because you're a musician. But I'm wondering, do you have any story or instance when someone has just made some massive assumption when they're like introducing you somewhere or said, you know what I mean, in some sort of grandish foot in the mouth assumption about that?
Oh yeah, it happens all the time. So when I went to school, like when I started going to kindergarten, it started. So every time the teacher would do attendance, if it was a substitute teacher, they'd go, "Oh, Lightfoot, are you related to Gordon?" And I'd be like,
wow. Yeah.
"No, I don't know anybody named Gordon." But moving on. And I didn't know that Gordon Lightfoot was a musician. I didn't know anything about that as a young child. And then my mom started explaining to me, it's this musician, and no, we're not related to him. So in the convenience store, we'd go to buy milk, and they'd be like, they'd know my mom, and they would ask the same question. Like everywhere we went, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And so I was just used to it. And then, of course, when I started,
you're seeing it in your parents and everywhere. It's not just
everywhere.
You. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And at this time, we really weren't connected with our Lightfoot family in Scotland. So I couldn't come up with the actual truth, which is the Lightfoots are from outside Edinburgh, and that's where our name comes from. It's nothing to do with Gordon Lightfoot. But there's been so many times. I mean, like, I get messages all the time being like, well, especially when Gord was alive, like, tell your dad XYZ, or tell your uncle XYZ. And, you know, I'm friends with his actual daughter, and she gets a different brand of that kind of thing at being his kid. But it's like, and people also thought her and I were the same person. So that's been a really funny piece of both our careers, because she, her name is Meredith Moon. And my name is Terra Lightfoot, but she's actually the Lightfoot in those terms. You know what I mean? She's actually
100%
kid. So it was really fun. As soon as I met her, I felt like kindred spirit. We understood each other. She's an amazing. She has a new record out too. Actually, it's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the name thing after a while just you get used to it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was just my curiosity, because I can imagine all the other stuff. Like, I've always thought like people must have really put their foot in their mouth sometimes with that assumption.
Always. Yeah.
Which I hope would at least provide you a little entertainment for having to suffer through it all the time. The other part, which is always fascinating to me, is the need for some man to reference you as a female guitar player. Mm-hmm. Which, again, I can make all the assumptions about how long you've had to put up with that from the moment you picked it up and were playing it probably in high school and all that. Mm-hmm. So what I actually am curious about is if you have had any sort of, whether you've just sort of reflected or thought, like, is there anything that a woman would bring to guitar playing that is different than a man in your perception? Because I literally realized, like, it runs out for me. I wouldn't be able to even conceive or understand, right? Like a way that a woman might be able to influence your style, because this is all about style, right? This is the joke about female or male guitar playing. Guitar playing is just about finding your own style so that you give a voice to your skills, and it has to be you, and it becomes your own. And that's really that's when you feel like a guitar player, is when you feel like you have your own signature on it.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. And I'm just wondering if you feel like, is there any, in your reflection, actual difference between how you might approach it to me that I'm not capable of channeling through my guitar the way that you might be?
I don't know.
Because I've never thought about it. This is a very recent thought.
That's a very interesting. I mean, when you were asking the question, I was thinking about some guitar players that I know that are so fantastic and recognizable across timelines. So, like Sister Rosetta Tharpe, you can hear it 1,000 miles away. She sounds like her. Madison Cunningham is another one, and she's an amazing guitar player. Somebody that I met more recently, two awesome guitar players actually, Nilly Brosh, who plays with Danny Elfman and his band.
Okay.
She's amazing. Crazy metal guitar player. And she plays in Death Clock, like, you know, the TV metal band.
Wow.
Crazy guitar player. Marissa Paternoster from Noun, also incredible guitar player. And these are just people that those two I met last year at a benefit that we did. But that sort of opened my brain in terms of like what people are doing with the guitar these days. But I mean, is there a difference between men and women picking up a guitar? I don't think so. I think that this is my whole goal, is to make it the same. Yeah. Is to make it so there's an even playing field for us all. And we can all start from the same spot and go, what are you going to do with it? Yeah. Because it doesn't matter who you are. in my opinion.
No, it absolutely doesn't.
You
It
know? You know what I
absolutely
mean?
doesn't. Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, like honestly, like it's a question that I didn't give a lot of thought to. I need to make
Yeah.
sure that that's really clear.
Yeah.
I just wondered if anybody else had ever thought like there might be a different
Yeah.
thing that somebody might bring differently. But
Yeah. I
we're
think it's
like,
case by case, because sure, I mean, I can think of a couple.
yeah, but I mean, think of the world we're in, right? Like we all have a better
Yeah.
understanding of the fluidity of gender.
Yeah.
Which, you just take that into account, and right off the bat, you're like, well, then
Yeah.
maybe your guitar playing lands somewhere on a spectrum too,
Yeah.
know, and
I
your
mean, like,
style and all of
if we're
that.
talking about norms of things, then like Nilly's playing but she's the top shelf of anybody in the world. I don't know anybody faster than her. Like, she's crazy, crazy good. And like, that's not a trope that we've grown up with, that women are
No,
fast and furious.
especially not. You're right. Like,
Yeah. And so she's really doing a thing that I was excited about, because
yeah,
it's just nice to
If
see
there
somebody
was-
doing it.
if there was a metaphorical locker room of rock and roll, like there is in sports, like that
Yeah.
would be the thing that gets stupidly made fun of in a male patriarchal locker room for sure, right? In rock and roll, of like, but they don't play fast or whatever. I mean, I've known of the artist Lindsay L, who came out of Calgary, now Nashville based, who's like now playing on Shania Twain's like Vegas tours as her lead guitar player, who's like worked very hard and had to fight all of these, sort of stupid tropes as well.
Yeah.
All the way, and has like a fantastic soulful style to how she plays that she also makes very melodic, which is very cool. I definitely feel like it's more a product of environment. I don't know if you've ever thought that through as far as guitar playing, because when you hear all the guitar players tell their story in magazines or on interviews, like as a kid, I just ate up all the Much Music. I wanted them to talk to the guitar player because that's what I did, but they always talked to the singer. But, and it felt like so much came out of their environment, right? Like the styles that were, what was around them, what were they rebelling against, which even goes back to you rebelling against your classical piano upbringings. So I think that's probably a far more interesting point that people should be taking at this point. You've been referred to by some pretty heavyweight programs and people in the country as one of the top musicians in the country. How does that feel? Have you had moments? Have you had moments where you just felt like I shouldn't smile too big because I might be on camera, but this is like so amazing. This person just like, that's got to feel really validating. I think a lot of artists, let me put it, sorry, I should frame it how I'm thinking about this, which is a lot of artists are just, they're getting the feedback and the validation just for the product they put out, for the records or the songs and the sort of the holistic view. But certain artists have this ability to also shine as an instrumentalist, as something else in their craft is particular inside of their art. So has that been important to you? Have you felt like that's a part of who you are? Actually, before you even answer that, let me ask you this. Going all the way back, playing guitar as a teenager like that, was the guitar kind of leading you into music, or were you always songwriting and singing at the same time? Was it always a blended thing, or was the guitar kind of the lead at first?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I wanted to be, the other thing I would do as a teenager, I'd fall asleep playing air drums. I wanted to be the drummer or the guitar player. I didn't care about being the singer. I was quite bashful, and about singing, and super scared of it, and in front of crowds and everything like that. Like even at family parties, I forget what my parents used to do to get me to sing, because I just wouldn't, it was a terrifying experience for me. You know, but playing an instrument was fine. That wasn't a big deal. So yeah, I mean, I've much enjoyed hiding behind my guitar for sure.
But then, I guess in turn, I'll make some guesses then that the way I started that question off, then that must feel very validating to get that kind of feedback, if that's how you kind of, what led you into all of this in the first place.
Yeah, and I mean my network and my what would you like my community of people that I become friends with because of my music is insane. Like the people that I get to call friends as a result of what I do is staggering. It makes me
Mm.
feel so happy. And yeah, at the end of the day, that's what I love is making, I have tons of people that have come to shows that have become friends all over the world. And that's also such a wonderful piece. So
Mm.
like, I think that's definitely a version of success that I am proud of. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well then let's I could end up going down a rabbit hole and talking about guitar with a guitar player forever. So
We can.
um I know I was going to talk to you about Veronica because
Oh,
I
my
have
girl.
a Epiphany Sheraton hollow body semi hollow body that just became because I don't think every guitar I think comes out of the factory different, right?
Hmm.
I think they have personality. Like I played an SG in a studio that I fell in love with, and then I bought three, and I could never get the same feeling back as this one I borrowed to play in the
Right.
studio. And my Sheridan's been the perfect companion to my amp. Like, so it just became my sound. Like, I've had a Jaguar over the years that all black that tried to challenge for my affections, but it couldn't quite do it. So I was going to chat with you about that a bit, but I'm going to move on from that because just respect time and stuff as
Okay.
well.
Great.
But I love guitar players and talking guitars sometimes, but maybe not everybody else wants to hear me talk about it. But I love what you just said about success and defining success, because one of the most interesting things I read about you is where you talked about a moment in the Swiss Alps, I think it was, that
Mm.
you had a kind of an epiphany moment of some meaning and stuff. And I just remember the line was something along the lines of like you were sort of being shown that the version of success that you were chasing maybe wasn't the right thing for you or something needed to change. And I'm wondering if you could tell me a little bit about what that moment was like and what that meant for you. Because this business is like so wrapped up in a narrative that we create for ourselves about what success is. So I'm really interested in what that moment was for you.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess that moment, the moment in the Swiss Alps, it was the Austrian mountain range. I don't know what it's called. But I was there after my first Juno nomination and my first Polaris prize long
Mm-hmm.
list. And those are things that I'd been striving for as soon as I knew what they were. I was like, oh, yeah, that would be good. And my management
Yeah.
really wanted that. Like, it was a thing that it would be good for the whole team, for the band, for everyone. And so it wasn't
Yeah.
just for me. It
It's on
was
the
like,
vision board. It's on the vision board of most people in the country, right?
yeah. And it's like a marker of success that can help everyone in the whole group. And so you're like, wow, that would be good to get that. And I got it. I got the nominations anyway. And then I was like, what? Am I not a different, complete person? Or do I not feel amazing about this because I got what I wanted? And,
Mm-hmm.
like, isn't this the thing that I was chasing for? And now that I'm here, what does it actually mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at that time, I had worked so hard to get those things that I was losing big parts of myself. I was losing my family connections. I was losing connections with my friends, like with myself. I would come home and I couldn't do anything for like 3 or 4 days, and then I'd have to leave again because I'd be so tired. It was like that to me wasn't hitting. It was not the thing. And so when I got up there on that mountain, I saw that tree and it was like not perfect. It was not, it was not big. It was the only thing growing up there, but it was growing. And that is what I took from it. It's like, okay, I'll figure it out. I can make myself happy with all these things because I wasn't happy with it, and you think
Mm-hmm.
you'd be happy. And so now, of course, I've found this, to me, the secret is having, taking care of yourself first, taking breaks. So in this wonderful business that we're all a part of, it's like scheduling time off. It's not jumping from one tour into the next one right away. Or if it is, then you've made a clear picture of when you're going to have time to take a break. And you end up with more energy and you end up being happier to do it all.
Mm-hmm.
And you're more effective. It's like, those are not things that I thought would help at the time. I thought taking a break was bad. I was like, that means I'm not working. That's bad. And truthfully, it's the opposite.
Yeah. I mean, that narrative probably gets informed by a few things, right? Which is bad probably is the combination of a little bit of fear, like that if I take my foot off the gas, then it can all go away like overnight in a heartbeat. So fear is inside of that. And also bad being how many people you might let down because you built this team to trust that you'd be successful. And then they're telling you need to go do this thing and you might have to tell them, I need a break. Would be a bit of a scary thing. What I had written down was a curiosity that I had was, first I'll say, so it's nice that you made that really clear that redefinition of success really had a lot to do with happiness, which I think is a great universal point beyond music, about people who kill themselves for a thing and how common in the human story it is to get the thing and then not feel anything, let alone happy about it, right? Yeah,
totally.
I'm wondering, in your experience, are you able to name what some of the things, like what did it look like before that moment about what chasing success looked like? I mean, you just alluded to maybe being a bit on the treadmill of thing to thing, but I'm wondering what it sort of looked like before and then what it started to look like after when you had to start making some different choices.
Yeah. I mean, I remember a moment I was lucky to bring my buddy along, Sam Weber, who's a wonderful guitar player. He lives in Portland, but he's from Canada. But he came along with me when I was opening for Bruce Coburn just for like moral support and friendship. And that was a great choice. It was like, okay, I'm going to bring my friend and this will be, more kind of more fun, but more peaceful. And I'll be sort of connected with someone. And I remember we were sitting down to lunch on the first day of the tour and like somebody sent me the cover of Hamilton magazine, which is obviously a magazine from Hamilton, but I was on the cover and it was this great picture of me with an interview. And I showed it to Sam and I was like, when did I do this? Did you know this was happening? Did I tell you about this? I didn't know this was happening. And so it was these big kind of things, these big pieces of success that before I would have been like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can't wait to see this. And they were just blowing by me and I'd be lucky if I saw them. Like I was in Guitar Player magazine. I don't have a copy of it. I don't know when it came out. I don't know anything about it. My dad sent me a picture of the pages of it. And it's again, a nice picture of me in the Guitar Player magazine. I don't have it. And so those kinds of big moments were just going by me. And now I feel like I have a more, like Homefront, this record. I had 2 amazing months of touring in Europe, being treated so well by promoters, like an easy travel schedule, days off, time to explore. Matt Anderson and I went 3 days early to Ireland to just go hang out and listen to Irish music and tour around. And then we started the tour. Like that's what it looks like when you have that. It's not a big investment. 3 days in a hotel before your tour isn't a huge amount of money, but it's something that changes your approach to the whole next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I totally know. Like when I was most active in a band, I am so grateful for they're my best friends, the guys that I played with, because they somehow had this already built in. And I probably wouldn't have, because I was a go. I did all the business stuff. I probably would never have stopped to smell the roses, but they would drive back from Vancouver to Edmonton and insist on going through Penticton and the South Long Way so that we could stop and overnight on the beach in the summer in Penticton and enjoy, we would enjoy the proper parts of Canada. We would spend more money to stay in the Sylvie Hotel on English Bay in Vancouver because that's where Blue Rodeo was when they wrote one of the albums, and we needed to get the juju from them. So I totally know what you're saying, because like I credit those guys for building wellness before we even use that language into the way that we moved and lived and breathed as a band together. So I totally get that. How long, like we all know, like an epiphany never, like we don't walk off the mountain and then immediately our habits change. How long did it feel like it took you to start to really like get that narrative sort of rewritten in your head and start to change the way that you were thinking and making choices?
Honestly, it's still happening every day because it's something that we have to sort of fight against. Because it's still back there. It's still saying work, work, work if you're not working. But you just learn to kind of say, okay, yeah, I hear that, but here's what I'm going to do. And it's easier, I think, to say that I need time or I need this extra moment here, or I'm not going to say yes to that opportunity right now, but I'd love to later. Or, I haven't done my longest road show, which is my touring review, which features the best band in Canada and the best artists in Canada, who all happen to be women or female identified people.
Yeah.
And I haven't done that because I haven't had the mental capacity. But next year I've built it up, and it's going to be great because I've had the time to organize it all and make sure all the music part, the music direction of it goes off without a hitch. And so it'll be wonderful.
Is that still going to be with Lindy and Begonia, Lindy Ortega and Begonia, or are you going to have to change? I might. Some of the people?
I know the band. I know who the band's going to be. It'll be Anna Ruddick and Danny Nash on drums, and I don't know about all the different artists that are going to. It's date dependent, right? But
of course,
I'm super excited about it. But this is something that I've been building up to, and so I have that excitement. Instead of like the first time we did it, I had one day of rehearsal, and then we were in it. It was insane. It was crazy, and I'd flown home from Vancouver the day before. Like it was too much. Yeah. So these are the things we learn.
Well, let me ask you this question then, because I think aspiring artists listening would probably commonly say that's a lot easier to have that epiphany and redefine success after you've got success.
Oh, yes.
Right? But I totally buy what you're saying, and so I'm curious what the advice or how you spin the advice of like, no, you can actually make those choices and make these kinds of like changes, and you're not going to, it's not going to rob you of opportunities. Like, how would you perhaps spin that to somebody who's, a little skeptical about getting off the treadmill so hard at the beginning?
Well, I mean, I was one of those people. I remember texting Max from Arkell's, because we're both from Hamilton. We both went to the same university. And we were talking around the time that the Junos were in Hamilton. This is before I had a record out to be nominated or anything. But I remember asking him something, and he was like, oh, maybe, no, we were playing basketball. That weekly basketball game. We're going full circle. He's a wonderful basketball player, by the way. Insane point guard. Knew? Like,
That's
come
great.
on. Oh, man. But I think it was like Juno's announcement day, and somebody was like, oh, Max, congrats on your Juno. And I was like, yeah, that must be amazing. He's like, I don't really care. I'm like, how can you say that? Like, to people who don't have what you have, And he was like, it's just something, you get there, and it's not a big deal. You just have to keep working. Like, it's simple. And truthfully, I was a skeptic, but I've been proved wrong,
Yeah. Because you can't know the meaning until you experience the meaning, right? Like, so for you to know why he can say it's not a big deal is because he puts it in a place with everything else that has meaning and definition.
Well, and he's also a super humble, sweet guy. And he, Arkell's have been nominated so many times. He's like, yeah, it's kind of embarrassing. Like, it's,
I think
like
every time. I think they're nominated every time.
Yeah, but he's so sweet about it. And to him, it's almost like he doesn't want to be recognized for it in some ways or something. Like he just doesn't act like it's a big deal. And that is what I took from him for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I alluded to before saying that I'm making an assumption that you've done a really good job, just whether it's part of your personality or character or the efforts you may make to be really good at building a network of people that create a lot of opportunity, or like I just want to say that that's becoming more clear as we talk on and on, how like, I'm going to say this, I'm going to make sure I explain it after so it doesn't come off the wrong. You've had a somewhat charmed life in the Canadian music scene, it feels.
Totally.
But I'm not saying that in the sense as in like, oh, you just got lucky. Because anybody who's been in the music business long enough knows that there's no such thing as like riding luck all the way through, all the way to the top. Everybody needs a little luck, but it takes being true to who you are, working hard every day, being kind to every person, like you already noticed. So, but on top of all those things, I think it's really cool then to sort of see all these charming moments that have happened in your life to get you where you are, like and cool people speaking very cool things into your life is like such an amazing blessing. I can't even imagine. So that's been very enjoyable to hear. Let me talk about Homefront then, and let's just talk about your new record, which I was going to ask earlier when I was guitar geeking about how the changes of how you play and learn new things might change how a new record comes out, since it's the main sort of source of your inspiration. So maybe that ties into talking about Homefront, which seems maybe potentially equally influenced by a stylistic choice to approach the record differently, but also geographically very clearly in the title and in a lot of the subject matter. So tell me about when that started brewing. Like, how long back did that kind of record start brewing for you to make?
I think in 2020 or 2021, like pandemic times, it was sort of like sucked back to not playing with the band, right? So all of a sudden I'm back with my classical. I love classical guitars. I find them so peaceful and they sound so nice, but it's something that you just sort of sit
strings.
around. Yeah, I just love them. Like it's so nice, such a nice sound.
But can you rip a solo on a nylon string? Is
only if I'm playing Slayer.
Question.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. But yeah, I think it was also about like playing the style that I had grown up playing, like the finger picky stuff that I learned in my early 20s. Like on Hummingbird's Hum, I'm doing this finger picking thing that I would never do live, really, like or with an electric guitar or with the band. But there was an opportunity for that song to sit at the end of the record, and it was like a live take. And I also like there's no heavy vocal editing as there often has been on my records that I've done with Gus, which is a normal thing. It's like a very normal approach to modern music. We edit the vocals. We try to beat our best take again and again and again, and you sing it like 12 times. Yeah. And on Homefront, it was just John in his studio, like right next door to this office. And, you know, it was so cozy. He's my husband. I'd love him to death. And he'd be like, okay, do you feel like cutting a vocal? I'd be like, yeah. And it wouldn't be perfect. But
do you feel like some
great.
Orange juice? Do you feel like a walk? Like, which are we going to do here? Yeah.
Yeah. And that approach was so awesome. And it's something so unlike all the studios that I've been to where there's so much pressure. Like when I recorded at Royal Studios in Memphis for Consider the Speed, I was like getting in the vocal booth where Al Green recorded and like Ann Peebles, and you're supposed to sing into the same microphone and it's supposed to sound good. Like what? No.
And you're paying a lot for it, and you need to get these takes done by X amount. Yeah, all those things. That's a lot of pressure.
All those things. Yeah. And so that's all going through your mind. And here you're just looking out the window and your husband's going like, do you want a glass of orange juice? And you're like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I think part of it too was like in the mixing or editing process, John and I would sit together and I'd be like, I don't want that changed. Like, just leave it. And there were a couple moments, especially where he was like, are you sure? Be like, yeah, it's all good. Because I want to present something like different and real, and yeah, just a picture of the house, about the peacefulness that I've found. And I want to share it because it's changed me, on a deep level living here.
Yeah. Was because the songs obviously sort of like dropping back as far as the layering, the instrumentation, the approach in general. Did that open the door to sort of flowing a little more into very slight but noticeable like genre-y overlaps, like the things that feel a little more, Americana, but the countryside of Americana? Like there's a couple of songs, that even have a little shuffle, towards, and then things that just feel like maybe an acoustic-y version of, it could be a rock song or something. So was there a freedom to just do however they came out completely? Is that like, rather than I need to sort of mix it up, or any conscious decision?
Yeah. I mean, John and I produced it together, and we both had different ideas of how things should be done. But his only really strong point, he fully produced Red. Like he was like, this is my idea. I think this should be the groove. I think we should call Bill and get him to do a vocal. And that was that. And I was like, great, so much direction there. But on the rest, it was sort of like just flowing with whatever we felt and like whatever we could get done, honestly, because we had a deadline. So it was like, it has to be done by this time. And we were headed to Seattle and to visit his family. So it was like, we got to get it done. So let's just like, if this song is finished, let's cut it. And that was sort of the approach. And it was like, are we using acoustic? Are we using piano? And it was just instrumentation, decide, and then get a good performance. And that was nice. Because normally you're like, what radio station are we writing for? And
yeah, that sucks. Oh, that's soul sucking. Yeah, there's nothing better than feeling like someone's giving you the freedom to say, let's just get the good performance. And when it's done, we're done. We don't have to do 12 more. Like we know when we have it. So it's a great feeling. Okay,
so
we have to talk about Red because I'm older than you. I think you were only 8 years old when that first version came out. I was all over it right away. I was just like hungry for indie music in Canada, because that's in 1994. Treble Charger put out Red and on their first version on that record, and 1994 on the heels of the Seattle grunge sound, in Canada, I felt people tried to turn that first Sloan record into a version of something that would be equitable with the Seattle sound in Canada. Treble Charger was coming up, loud guitars in their performances. I think they were under the same pressure all the time. But I fell in love. That was like the song for me. And I moved to Edmonton in 1996. And between 96 and probably 2001, I probably saw every Treble Charger show when they came through. I was a fan, and that was the song for me. That's the one that still lives on playlists to this day. So I was like, obviously very excited to see that you made a cover. And then when I found out you actually recorded with Bill for that song, which is really, really cool. So how long had that brewed in your life? And how old were you because you were only 8 when version 1 of that came out. How old were you? Like, where did you discover that song that it became something for you?
I think I was around 11 or 12 probably when my one cousin let me watch Dazed and Confused, and all of a sudden my mind opened up into like,
that's way
rock
too
and
young
roll.
for Dazed and Confused.
I was like, whoa, so great. But so then it opened me up into all these different bands, and so I think I heard it back then, but I wasn't like fully
that's late
conscious of it.
90s for you then. So that's still the heart of Treble Charger.
But I think I saw the music video and everything, and then I met Bill because we have mutual friends from the band Don Vale. And so it started like, I used to spend Christmas with those guys. It was like such a sweet little tradition because we all lived in the same spot, in the same little town. But and then fast forward, I played Sault Ste. Marie, and I would always keep in touch with Bill. If we were driving that wonderful highway from Winnipeg down on to Toronto, we'd call Bill and be like, what are you doing? Because he had a cottage in Sault Ste. Marie. And we'd always go swimming there. And so this time I was like, hey, do you want to like play with us? And thinking like, what could he play? Why don't we just play Red? And so my band backed up Bill.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was awesome. It was so cool. And I was supposed to take the second verse, but he was so excited that he just sang through it. I mean, it's like muscle memory, right? Because he toured for so many years playing that song. It wasn't normal for somebody to jump in. So, but it was awesome. It was like, Canadian heritage moment. For me and the band. Like we just had such a blast with him.
That's amazing. That's you see, you can ask a question sometimes as a guy in my seat, and you just don't know what the story is going to be, and then you deliver a great story like that, and it just makes it even better. So I'm so glad I asked about it. They were a great band. I think really influential. I don't know that they get talked about enough. I think for what they were a part of. Was the band the Killjoys out of Hamilton?
Yes. Yeah, I know Mike and Gene. Yeah.
Okay, that was another band that I used to see every time in that same era, every time they came through town, and then it just all of a sudden struck me that I thought Killjoys was also Hamilton. Was it band.
Big Shiny Tunes 1? Were they on Big Shiny Tunes 1?
They were on one of them for sure with Today I Hate Everyone. Was that the song they had on?
I think Raven Drool. I don't know.
Second record?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think that's second record.
Yeah.
They did a cover of The One That I Want from the Grease soundtrack, like their semi-punky style. That was incredible live. I always wanted to hear a recording, never got to. So how are you feeling like now? Like you obviously have released tour dates and everything, and the album's just been out. So I'm always curious to ask, because the world just sees a new album come out and they think this is you right now, when it's been you brewing, as I sort of spoke to it, like for a long time.
Yeah.
And it's a change. So I'm wondering how you're feeling about it being out and reactions and responses and all of that. How has that experience been so far?
I think it's nice because I think there's a lot of people that come to shows that like those quieter moments. And like we tend to deliver a loud rock show. Like every night I ask Eli, like, what do you want to do tonight? We should play something quiet, or like give their ears a break. And he's always like, I want to rock. I'm like, me too. Like it's a tough world. But when you're in the energy of live performance, I've never been one of those people that can sit and play something quietly for an hour and a half. Like it's just not in my wheelhouse. So this has been an interesting, like, I can't wait to play in Hamilton on Friday. Because we're going to play the whole record front to back. So I'm going to have to sit there and play quiet stuff.
For a long time.
Time. And, but I'm excited because it's like, it's an opportunity to try something different. And I always learn, you always learn so much from trying different things, obviously, but this will be a big one. And I've been workshopping the songs on my own and with the guys. We did a big tour in Sweden, and I just went out with Matt Anderson in the UK and Europe, and I played some of those soft songs. Like I played Counted on You from the record, which was quite, it's a waltz. But people were like loving it, and it's so quiet. You could hear a pin drop. It was wild. And that gave me some encouragement, because normally those aren't the things about me that are celebrated. We celebrate the Thin Lizzy part or the AC/DC part, and not the quiet stuff. So that's nice.
Yeah. And you make an assumption people are walking in with what the press has pushed, which is exactly what you described, the loud parts, the things that you kind of had some identity built upon to get there. And I think it takes a while, doesn't it, as an artist, especially like rock and roll artist, to learn that the audience actually needs a breather sometimes.
Totally.
That I don't want a breather, but they actually like an ebb and a flow to a performance. It actually draws them in. You watch the greats do it, and how they can, like the Hip, maybe, who were some of the greatest live performers, the way even in a song that they extend for 9 minutes, they can take everybody right down. And the payoff, of course, is that they'll bring them right back, them right back up. So, but yet it still takes us so long to learn
I know
those tricks. But yeah. Well, thank you so much for time. This has been fantastic getting to know you and your history and kind of all the things that have gotten you to where you are now, and very excited to see sort of what's next in the future of like your career. Like you have about, I think, 5 studio albums. Well, I guess 6, including your self-made one, which
6.
isn't on Spotify. Your first one, but plus a studio album or a live album, sorry, that's on there. Which is a great. It's a lot. It's a great library.
A lot of
but
albums.
You've got. It sounds like you still have more inspiration and ideas and growth ahead of you.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. So thank you for the time sharing all that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Joining me and having a chat. And I just want to wish you all the best. And I look forward to tapping Durpak on the shoulder for, a freebie. I'm just kidding. I'll pay for my ticket. In to see the next Terra Lightfoot show. Or
Amazing.
if you bring I don't know if you bring the review. Do you bring the review show out west?
I thought you were going to say bring the riffraff, and I was going to laugh.
Oh, no.
The review.
I don't know your guys well enough to call them riffraff, but
they could be.
Do you bring the other touring
the longest road show
out? Yeah, the longest road show.
I don't think we will in 2027. I don't think we will, but we might. It would be something that I'd like to do in the future, and that might involve also tapping in some more Western, like Midwestern Canadian talent, because there is so much.
Yeah, well, your friend Begonia, she can get you going from Winnipeg and on. So
she's got some pipes. I've heard she's got pipes.
She's probably getting busy too. Like, people are really liking her new record.
She's amazing. She's the top of the tops.
Yeah,
and such a good
incredible.
person.
She is.
Love her so much.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Bye, Glen.
Hey, I'm Alexi. Stick around for post fame with me and my dad.
Okay, and we're recording.
Good morning, America.
Where did that one? Have you been sitting on that? You're like, I'm gonna throw them.
No, that was
okay.
That was pure improv, actually. Thanks for giving me theater lessons when I was a kid.
You're welcome.
Yep. I think that's why I'm funny.
That's what you think. You think because of theater lessons?
You paid $5 every week, and now I'm a funny person. That set me up really well.
Was it like you just showed up and then handed some guy $5 and then you got to be part of that theater little class? Yeah. And then I had Is that the class that's right beside where I work?
Yes.
Oh, I do remember that. There was some weird kids that came out of the front door
weird
at the end of your lesson.
Can I tell a quick story? Just because everyone I've ever told this to laughs. We were doing an improv sketch, and that place was just weird. It was just we rented that place, but doing an improv sketch. Lindsay and I were still relatively new to the whole improv theater community in Edmonton, and there was a couple kids that were weird. Anyways, one of them was in a scene, and in this scene was the door knob, and this really weird girl, and I'm gonna name drop because she'll never find this, named Petra.
Oh,
her name was Petra.
Oh,
she was 5'1", ginger, redhead girl, very, did not speak often, but when she did, just the weirdest things came out. But, thought she was mute for a long time because, she, refused to, speak.
Actual words?
Yes, just, but, not, as a condition, just, chose to be. Anyways, during this scene.
Her chosen condition?
Yeah.
Okay.
During this scene, Lindsay and I were on, a total tear. We, thought we were being so funny. She goes up to the guy being the doorknob, grabs both sides of his head and twists as hard as she could, and he fell to the ground, and then the lesson ended because he was injured and his parents had to get called. And Lindsay and I, we were upset about? Not him, the fact that our role got stopped
because we were on a
tear.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that's crazy.
I thought there was a kid in that always looked like, the kind of kid who would wear his winter jacket all the way through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just not take his coat off.
Yeah, there was definitely a couple of those.
Yeah.
Man.
That's interesting.
Some people paid to watch us take in.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Man.
Well, congrats on being funny.
Thank you.
Congrats to me for my $5 a week investment.
Yeah.
Life lesson to all the young parents listening. So, episode 31, winding down season 2, I might add. Conversation with Terra Lightfoot. Terra, this was like the first conversation I've ever had with Terra. I think we've talked about this a couple times before, where I'm starting to enjoy
People you don't know.
Yeah, the whole approach to it and the whole preparation, and then actually, because part of preparation, you build up a perception of the person that you're going to talk to, right? In the same way that maybe in a simpler way, like just listening to an artist for a long time and watching maybe some of their videos or things online, and you'd build up a perception of what they might be like if you were to meet them. And the same thing happens at another level when you like read articles that they've been interviewed or had conversations in already, or just what people are saying about them. But it's always a little different on the other side.
Well, it's also, I think you also like it. This is my speculation. Because it's not a bad thing, but when you're like doing it with an old buddy or someone like you have a pre-established relationship with, like you're perceived already, you know? But like when there's a new person, like you're going into that having not been perceived yet.
By them.
So you can kind of like frame yourself in a manner that like coincides with Almost Famous enough, and like the parts of your personality that you pull while interviewing, and like you like, you know, like because when you talk to someone, like for example, like I guess like the Wheat Pool episode, like you said that was one of the best. Like I'm not saying it's a negative thing, but it's different because you're talking to them the way you talk to the guys, and you know how they perceive you already. Like
saying that was like the best for me was a different version though.
That's what I mean. Like the best, like
it's not comparable.
No, but even like people you know, like even like Dan, like you know going into that you're perceived well by him, whereas like someone else, like you have to put in that work and like and frame yourself in a certain way. But I think you enjoy that. You're very sociable. Yeah,
what you're getting to is the thing that I sort of joked about with Begonia, which is I've sort of started to think about it and frame it like I've just been flirting my whole life. Like,
it's like that.
I call it flirting because I'm trying to influence their perception of me in a positive way. I want them to like me. No, I don't necessarily want them to like me. So flirting is a bit of a.
It's just a silly way of saying it.
Good call. Anyhow, so all that is prefaced to say again, like super enjoyable conversation. I loved that Terra hit on. I think, I was talking to you about the core. When I get a core message that aligns with
the podcast,
one of the core messages or reasons for the podcast about what success actually means and redefining success and being able to articulate it. So I really enjoyed that part of the conversation. I got a little dicey. I went into a little dicey territory with
the woman comments.
Yeah, with pulling up. Just the fact that this is a burden that she has to bear through every interview. And at the risk of being just, by saying so, bringing it up in another interview.
Like, when you first said that to me, I was kind of all the fence of like...
Was it a good idea?
Yeah, because it's like, it's a very fine line, I think, of like, you framing it as like commentary on the fact that everyone brings up her being a woman guitar player.
Yeah, like I want to have an objective conversation, but subjectively, you're
bringing it up.
I'm inside the world of another interview.
That's what I mean. I'm like, it's a very fine line of like, are you one of them or are you commenting on them?
Yeah, and I was very aware that I was rolling the dice, and I wasn't sure.
And you're a man.
And I'm a man doing it. And normally, I would actually profusely apologize for that when I bring those up. But
Being a man?
I skipped that somehow through. I was trying to actually talk to her. Guitar player to guitar player.
Yes.
Right? What I was trying to get at was like, don't just tell me again what it's like to be a female, quote unquote. And the absurdity of that question.
Like, tell me what it's like being a guitar player. And then like obviously a part of that is her experience being a female.
Yes. But I think we all can make our assumptions about that. So I was trying to go a layer past that, right? Which is like, we don't need to talk about the absurdity of that trope that gets thrown around. I
Yes.
said, can you just tell me a little bit about whether you think there is actually any part of like how a woman would approach, because there's a lot of things in the world, you know what I mean, that are the exact same activity that, you know, depending on, again, this whole spectrum conversation, you know, the how much presence of what we would probably define as quote unquote femininity versus masculinity, it would have itself imprinted on the activity.
Yeah.
But there was just too many hairs to split in that. Anyhow, she was
Awesome.
gracious about talking about it, and I was thankful that she just thought about it and then said, "No, I don't think there is a difference." And I admitted that I said this, like, I kind of, this a little bit off the top of my head. So so then I was thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, this is actually the point about how gender fluidity and the spectrumness of it actually relates to actually what I would want to get at, which is like the expression of guitar playing and how you try to imprint yourself and create a style is really what it's about when you pursue it. It's going to fall at different, it's more about that.
Yeah. Than
Anyhow,
anything
right?
else, yeah.
And that's probably coming more from like nurture, from where and how you were raised in your worldview and all this kind of stuff. So it was a rabbit hole that actually I opened up that I would actually love to think about more. But I had to stop myself in the middle of the conversation from, that's not what people were there to listen to. In the
You were like,
episode.
this is about to be a 3-hour episode.
Yeah, it could have been, but didn't need to be. Anyhow, she's very gracious. She had some great things to say, so I'm really thankful that the conversation went the way it went in a couple of places. But I love that that's something to think about, and I love that she brought up a couple things to think about, like even just the bigger than music, just the pervasive notion of relationship building, and how, you know, a lot of people could just diminish the concept of like success via relationship building as like, oh, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
But that's not fair, because there's just some real like nice human truth to like good people can succeed because they're good people, right? And because people want them to succeed. And when you build a good community, and when you're kind to people everywhere you go, and you're really good at building connections and relationships, like those people are going to want you to succeed. They're going to want to help you.
Yeah.
And you know, that should be celebrated, not like, yeah. Anyhow, that's kind of some of those things that I was left thinking about afterwards, which I like it when there's things that are bigger than just music that are just really
Get you
nice
thinking.
human moments. Yeah. Real quick, we can just have a super fast Spotify Wrapped came out.
Yes.
We're excited about Spotify Wrapped.
It's like my personal Christmas.
Just coming out today. We're recording this the night before posting. So everybody, by saying Spotify Wrapped, they will know that anyhow if they're paying attention. So this is just a little promo plug for us to say next week is episode 32, and that will be a wrap on season 2, just before Christmas and New Year. And so season 2 finale will be next week. And then the week before Christmas, the 18th of December, we are going to have a special post-fame episode. Post-fame plus. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're sharp. And we are going to just do a quick review on our Spotify Wraps and stuff. So that's why I was thinking don't go look at my Instagram stories today. Did you already?
I looked at some, but I also like,
Because I realized I
can't
posted
recall.
a bunch of stuff, and then I was like, oh, but we should have maybe.
well, I only posted one thing on my close friends, and you're not even on that, John.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, this is a big revelation for everybody. I'm not. Everybody tells me how wonderful they think it is that we do this together and how sweet it is, and now they're going to be like,
Because you don't want to
We're not
see
that
that. That's
close.
boring for you.
No, that means that you're posting weird or inappropriate things that you don't want your dad to see. That's all that means.
Do you want to see what I posted today? Just
No,
wait.
I don't. Now
Well,
I'm
first
worried.
of all, no. Well, first of all, I showed you my story the other day. It was about people
should.
using AI on essays. And then, okay, don't look too hard. But look, it's just the playlist of it made for me. And I said, putting this John on repeat.
Oh.
Because it's all the songs I listen to.
Okay.
Isn't that so scandalous of me?
Why are you making me feel so old? What is it? What do you mean by John? Because, like, if it's not the name John, I grew up where that means it's a man who just purchased a prostitute's services.
What?
That's what the slang term was
That
for a
is
dude that got arrested
awful.
or someone who uses it.
No, John
as
is
a
like
John.
just another way of like referring to like anything, basically. Like if you were like on your laptop and you needed like a password, I could be like, pass that John over.
That makes no sense.
It's just like
good
you're
for you
referring to
guys.
like the like object. Listen, man.
every object is a John.
Well, anyway, it's like the topic that you're discussing. Anyways, I
let's
did
get
not
back on
focus
track.
on your story,
Okay.
and I
Good,
didn't
good.
post intentionally on my public story.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, the only people I've talked about it were some people in my class and the front desk worker at the gym this morning.
Okay. So here's what I will tell you without giving anything away.
Okay.
What I will tell you is that in my 5 top songs,
Yeah.
where we assume that they're probably not songs from this year, a lot of the ones, because we just keep playing some of our favorites.
Solid.
3 out of the 5 are songs that were for sure in last year's.
Okay.
Me. 2 were not. Both of them actually surprised me. And the 2 that aren't are 1 and 2.
Really?
So interesting. Also, the artist that they said was my top album listened to by minutes. Very interesting, which we'll have a conversation about. So I'm happy that there's interesting things to talk about. But my question is, did you like the new little inclusion with these listening reports?
Okay.
Like the biggest day in your,
You know what?
Your loudest day or whatever they would call it or whatever.
I have
stuff
2
like that.
things to say. My first one is regarding that.
Also, this is going to be a 20-minute episode, and you said let's make it 5. But
I'm a
we always do
yapper.
this.
Okay, the little files.
Yeah.
I'm Snoopy. I love to know things. So I have to be a fan. Like the 2 that I have saved were like biggest music listening day. Like love that. Me and a bunch of like people in my class were showing that. And like not to get too much into those because we're gonna have an episode. But like I love that it tells me like how many minutes, how many tracks, how many artists. Like I love that. And then the other one was like biggest indie folk day, like that kind of stuff.
Oh, I had the same.
I don't
Or indie
love
rock,
though.
not indie folk. But did you love the way AI actually wrote you a little story?
No.
You name dropped like tunes and pretended like you started doing this and then you did that.
You know why? Because I've been pretty on my anti-AI growing
Well,
lately.
I know.
So
But
then I was like, no, because they have such cool like designers and people on their team who do this.
well, it's a nice style. The whole thing's I like the style.
I like it. but
So
I
that's a person. I don't think AI made that.
no,
style.
that's what I'm saying though. I
couldn't
was like,
have,
it could have been pure. It could have been,
It could have.
you know what? But I still enjoy it. Also, the friend I was talking to, his biggest music listening day was awesome. It was just like banger after banger, and it was my birthday, but we didn't know each other yet. And I told him that's why.
Okay, you want to know one of the tidbits about 2 of my days? Like my most nostalgic day and my biggest music listening day, I think are both, when I look at the playlist, days that I made some funky choice at work. Because
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
often
Yeah,
the one
yeah,
who
yeah.
chose
Relax.
at work. And
That's
so
funny.
if I'm at work for like 9 hours
You're like,
and I've been playing it, and then it's like the day you let the 90s soundtrack from sunrise, noon to midnight. Well, that was a day I specifically, I know for a fact. Anyhow.
do you want to hear my funny tidbit?
Yeah.
And it's the only one like, because it doesn't matter. I said this last year. So, and I said this in the car this morning. Every single year since 2018, 2019, whenever we started focusing on these, I've had the same top song. And I was like, guaranteed, I'm not having it this year because I like didn't listen to it as much, and I didn't. But it was my top song again. Guess how many plays I had on this one song on the year?
Oh, I don't know. It's always a ridiculous number to me.
789.
Yeah, that's a lot of plays.
And you know what? I don't sleep to the song anymore.
And yet.
Because last year that number was in the 900s, and it's because I sometimes fell asleep to that song on repeat.
Yeah.
And I thought I was so well behaved. No. And that was on like that little playlist I posted on my close friends. Under each song in the playlist, it shows you how many listens you had on the year. And everyone regretted how awesome my playlist was and only commented on the fact that the top song had that many. And I said, people need to stop perceiving me and my psychopathic repeat behavior because they're missing that my music
They're only
taste is
perceiving
awesome.
because you go around telling everybody about your Spotify Wrapped.
I do not.
Well, how else would they know?
Because they come and ask me.
Okay.
I actually did not bring it up today.
Okay.
Other than with you, because you love to know.
I don't know if I can believe that.
It is.
You didn't bring up your Spotify Wrapped at all.
People came to me.
You were talking about it to the person behind the gym desk this morning. She brought it up?
Yes, I brought it up to you because I said, oh, my workout just got interrupted because it came out. And then I said, do you know why? And then you bluntly ignored me.
I didn't even hear what you said.
No, you bluntly ignored me. And then she put her hands up and went, Spotify Wrapped.
Yeah, you were
And then we went on a
rabbit
girl
hole.
gab sesh because she was like, wow, that girl just got like shunned by her father. Time for me to leap in. This is why you're not on my close friends story, by the way.
Oh.
He shunned me at the gym.
Well, we put a bow on all of it then by wrapping that part up.
Anyways, everyone should get really excited for that episode because
we'll
pretty awesome.
Compare some notes on some things and some surprises.
I'm gonna write some predictions I have for yours.
Oh, that'd be good. And then I want you to like send me some of your screenshots and we'll like put a couple of our lists on the
Not
socials.
before we read the episode.
Not before.
Oh.
When we do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
Sound good?
aesthetic, yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Cool. Okay. Goodbye, Erica.
Dog's looking at us. We need to get off before she
Yeah,
wakes
because
up.
she's like, it's bedtime.
Okay. Okay, bye.
Good night.